Good morning, everybody. How do you feel today? Say it loud so you can hear how you feel. Thank you for saying how you feel. My name is Mr. Channing. Would you like to read a book with me today? I've got a book I'd like to read with you. This book is called Chop, Simmer, Season by Alexa Brandenberg, published by Harcourt Press. What do you think this book is about? A restaurant, that's exactly right. And this book is about cooking. Now, normally we wash our hands at the end of the video. But today, because we're reading a book about cooking, and when you're cooking, it's very important to wash your hands first. Let's wash our hands first. Are you ready? Put the book back. Pardon me for a second. There we go. Let's wash our hands first. Let's do I deserve. Should we do it? You ready? Get some soap. Get some water. Turn the water back off. Just a little splash. Get some bubbles going. 1, 2, 3, 4. I deserve to be healthy. I deserve to be clean. I protect my friends and family. Look at these hands. I'm a washing machine. I'm a washing machine. I'm a washing machine. And my nails look good. Rinse that soap off. You don't want to get any soap in the food. Get all the soap off your hands. Turn the water off. Dry your hands off. And now we're ready to read. Let's get this book back. 1, 2, 3. Now let's read the... Hang on. This is not a book. Hang on. I did something wrong. Just a second. All right. Try it again.
It is a panda.
Yeah, I think this is a panda. That's what I think. There's a lot of pandas around the set today. Real pandemonium, if you ask me. 1, 2, 3. There's the book again. All right, here we go. Chop, Simmer, Season. Do you like to cook in the kitchen? You like to cook? You like to help out when grown-ups are cooking in the kitchen? I think cooking is very fun, and I know a lot of kids also like to cook. Do you like to cook? Or do you like to eat? Cook and eat. Chop, Simmer, Season. Today's menu at the restaurant is basket of fresh baked breads, top-notch minestrone, a delicious vegetable soup, garden greens, grilled trout with harvest vegetables. And for dessert, strawberry layer cake, cherry chocolate cupcakes, and an apricot tart. Oh, that's a lot of delicious sounding choices. All right, who do you see?
2 people.
2 people. These are our 2 kitchen workers. We're going to be seeing what they do all day in the kitchen at the restaurant. This is the top-notch restaurant. This is like a nice restaurant. It's not in a big city like a lot of other restaurants. It's almost like a little house out in the woods. How interesting. And what time is it? Can you tell? Is it morning? Looks like it's early morning. Looks like the sun is just coming up. It's sunrise. They're getting there very early in the morning. All right, first step. Yawn, stretch. You gonna do some stretching with me? It's important to grunt a lot when you stretch. I think it helps. You know what this is? Is that a measuring cup? And what's going into the measuring cup?
I don't know.
This says sugar. Now, one of the steps is measure. And down here I see a measuring cup, a little glass, a teaspoon, a tablespoon, another measuring cup. A lot of different tools you can use for measuring things. Because when you're cooking, you want to make sure you have exactly the right amount of all your ingredients. Do you know what this is? This is called a sifter. put a lot of flour in it, and you shake it, and all the lumps in the flour get all broken up and it gets turned back into flour dust. That's exactly what you want when you are baking. And there's a bowl underneath to catch all that powdered flour. Some other ingredients: baking soda, baking powder, flour, sugar, and salt. You might have a salt shaker like that on your table. Sift. That's what's happening here. What's happening here with a spoon and a bowl? Do you know? Are they stirring? Are they mixing? Stirring up those ingredients to mix them all up. What other ingredients do you think are in here? Down here I see some water, some milk, some yeast. What is yeast? Is yeast some little tiny bacteria, some little tiny germs that are good kind of germs? What do they do when they're inside the bread or inside the dough? What do they do?
I'm gonna say.
You're going to say? Okay. What?
And
They toot and burp. That's exactly right. Those yeast, you mix them in with all your ingredients, and while they're inside the dough, they eat up the sugar and they burp and toot. It's true. And they make the bubbles that you find inside your bread. That's what yeast does. They help that bread swell up big. Thank you for your hard work, yeast. Now some salt, a big mixing bowl, some sugar, some butter, some flour. Whole lot of ingredients depending on what you are making. Now, what is she doing with her fists? Is she punching that dough? Is that what she's doing? Is she angry at the dough? What do you think? You think that dough did something to make her angry? I don't think so. Well, it's possible, but I don't think that's what happened. This is called kneading. K-N-E-A-D, kneading. That's when you take all the bubbles that the yeast has made in your dough and you pop all those bubbles and you squish it back down. And when you do that, the yeast gets right back to work making some new bubbles. And if you do that at least once, it means that your bread will have very good bubbles. Very nice bubbles, a very wonderful, delicious dough. Knead. That's the kind of thing you might do if you're making a baguette or a roll or a big loaf of bread or some pastries or whatever this is. I wonder. Maybe it's a different kind of dough. Maybe it's pumpernickel. Rise. What's this on top of the bread? What did they put on there? Is that a cloth? Did they tuck that bread in? Did the bread go to sleep? Does bread sleep? Do you know?
it is food.
It's a food. Yeah, that's right. I don't think that it sleeps. But when you're making bread, one of the important steps is that after you get it into the pan, you put a cloth over it, and then you walk away. And you let that bread do its thing for a while without you poking and prodding it. You got to be patient while that's happening. Sometimes it's hard work just to be patient. Sometimes it's hard work to do nothing. But you got to do it. And while you walk away, that bread will go and get bigger and bigger while the yeast works inside. Sometimes I make pizza dough at home, and one of the important steps is that I wrap it all up, and I put it on the counter, and I forget about it. And then when I come back, you know what I find on the counter? You think I found a little tiny ball of yeast? What do I find? Do I find a great big yeast monster? That's all popped out of the plastic. Have you seen that before?
No.
Maybe it's not a monster, but boy, it's a lot of dough. Let it rise, punch it down. Let it rise, punch it down, and then put it in the pan. Now let's move on to something else. That bread has to do its thing for a while. What is this?
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Chocolate and butter.
Yum!
I think so too. In a pot on the stove. What's going to happen to this chocolate on the stove? Is it going to get cold? It's going to melt. That's exactly right. That heat is going to make that chocolate melt and get all soupy and melty. And then you can do a lot of different things with it. Sugar, chocolate, butter, whatever this is. Some fruit and jam.
Hey, I like food.
I like fruit too.
And I like it too.
Now this big thing here, this is called a whisk. It's made of a whole lot of wires. And when you whip that around in your batter, you make a whole lot of little bubbles in there. Beat. So you go eggs, cream of tartar, some sugar, a big mixing bowl, and some flour. You mix that all together. Some people, they're so good at using a whisk that they can put an egg white into a bowl, just the raw egg white, and they can whip it around so fast that they put so many bubbles into it that it turns into stiff peaks, is what it's called. It's almost like the white of the egg turns into something a little bit like foam. I can't do it. I can't move my hand that fast. So I use a machine. I use a electric mixer whenever I have to whip up an egg like that. But my mom can whip an egg like that. Can your mom do it? You got some other grown-ups in your family who can do it? You got some grandparents who can do it?
This one can do it. You can do it.
Can you do it? Bake. Bake. What does bake mean?
Do you want to?
Where do you put things when you bake them? Do you put them in the refrigerator? Do you put them in the closet? Where do you put things when you bake them? Do you put them in the bathroom? Where do you put things when you bake them?
In the oven.
In the oven. That's right. Is it cold in the oven? Is it wet in the oven? Hot. That's right. Very hot in the oven. In fact, kids should not be working with the oven unless they have a grown-up who is right there to help them. And I am a grown-up, and sometimes I need some help working with the oven too. I have burned myself a couple of times by accident, and it hurt. But I got better, and I put some ice on it as soon as I got burned. Sometimes accidents happen, but you should still try not to have an accident if you can help it. What are they putting into the oven? Looks like some bread, some cupcakes, a big delicious tart, some little, are these little quiches? And some baguettes. Oh, looks like this chef really likes watching that bread in the oven because you can see it get big and get nice and toasty brown, and it smells delicious. Now, what is this?
I don't know. I need a knife.
I think it's a knife too. Should you be careful with knives? Should you be careful with knives? Should you play with a knife? No, you shouldn't play with a knife. A knife is not a toy. In fact, usually grown-ups are the only ones who should be using a knife, unless you have a special kind of knife just for a kid to use that a grown-up has told you is okay. Chop. What are they going to chop with this knife?
A lemon.
A lemon. And I think this is a big squash here, maybe. And I see some mushrooms and some spring onions and some carrots and some garlic and some herbs. And down here I see garlic, carrots, green bell pepper. Well, maybe those are some red peppers or some potatoes, some celery. You want to chop with me with your pretend knife? It's okay to use a pretend knife. Chop, 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 chop. Chop, 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 chop. Very nice chopping. Simmer. Do you know what simmer means?
I don't know.
Do you know what boil means?
No.
I think you've seen stuff boil before. When it gets really, really, really hot on the stove and those big bubbles start coming up. Well, simmer means it's like a low, low boil. It's still very hot, but it's not so hot that it's going to get burned. It's just simmering. What do you think is in this big pot? I see some macaroni. I see some mushrooms. I see some chopped up vegetables. And here I see that same macaroni. Looks like some vegetable stock, some vegetable salty juice, some tomatoes, some cheese, some peas and beans. Oh, this is going to be good. I think that's the minestrone. Season. You know what season means? Season means when you add some extra herbs and spices and you give something just exactly the right flavor that you want. You can't quite get with just the vegetables and all the big ingredients that you put in. What's this that they are grinding into this minestrone?
I don't know.
What is that?
Pepper.
I think that's pepper. I think they're grinding some pepper right into the soup.
That one is tasting it.
That's right. He is tasting it. That's a very important step when you're cooking. Why is it so important to taste the food when you're cooking it?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't taste it, how do you know how it tastes?
I think good.
You think good? If you want to make sure that it's good, it's very important to taste the food while you're cooking it. And then when you taste it, you might say, oh, this is pretty good, but this needs more salt. Or you might say, oh, this is pretty good, but it needs more pepper. You might say, oh, this is pretty good, but it could use a pinch of tarragon. Or you might say, oh, this is terrible. Let's order a pizza.
And that can happen.
It can definitely happen. Down here, some things you can season it with, herbs, sometimes grapes or other fruit, salt and pepper. Oh, it looks like that is basil. And then down here, after you taste it, you could add a little bit of sugar. You could add a little bit of lemon, a little bit of salt, some arugula, some spicy hot peppers. What is this?
A potato.
What is happening to this potato? Looks like something's coming off the outside. What's coming off the outside?
I think skin.
The skin is coming off the outside. That's right. They're peeling the potato using a special potato peeler. Peeling all the skin off the outside of the potato. You might also peel an onion. Very important to take all that onion skin off because that onion skin will never cook down. Some apple. Some people don't like to eat apple skins. Do you know that? Do you know anybody who doesn't like to eat apple skins?
Me.
Do you know anybody who does like to eat apple skins?
You and you.
That's right. That's why we're such a good team when it comes to eating an apple. Carrots, pears, oranges. You got to peel an orange before you eat it. You can't just take a bite of an orange skin. You got to peel that orange and get to the delicious inside. What is this?
I don't know. I'm climbing down into my burrow.
Okay, well, do you know what this is?
I don't know.
This is called a masher. This is something you use when you're making potatoes. You remember we read the book Two Old Potatoes and Me a while ago? And in that book, they make mashed potatoes. You need a tool like this, a masher. It takes those potatoes and squishes them over and over and over again after they get cooked. It makes them nice and mashed up. And then you put some butter, salt and pepper, a little bit of milk, a little bit of nutmeg. Mmm, delicious. It looks like this has garlic in it too. Potatoes, a big pot, garlic and herbs, milk, butter, salt and pepper. Wonderful.
Oh, yum.
Yum. What is happening here?
Yum.
This is called fillet. What is she doing?
Yum.
She's got a special knife. She's taking all the bones out of a fish. Do you eat bones? No, just about nobody eats bones. And fish have little tiny bones. You want to make sure you take those out before you cook a fish. Actually, sometimes it's easier to do it after you cook the fish. But before you eat it, you got to take those bones out. So she's being very careful to get all the bones out of that fish meat. Take them out, throw them in the compost. You might also fillet, looks like some beef, some chicken, some fish, another kind of meat. Oh, looks like that's a lobster. There's a lobster right down here. You might have to fillet that lobster. Slice. What are they using to slice up these vegetables?
I need to climb over onto a coating so I can get on there.
Are they using a hammer to slice the vegetables? What are they using? A knife, that's right. Can I see you slice? No, slicing is not like chopping. When you're slicing, you have to be very careful. Slice, 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 slice. Can I see a careful slice? Slice, slice. Very nice. You can slice some onions, some peppers, some zucchini, some garlic, some mushrooms. Grill. Grill.
Oh, what is grill?
What an excellent question. Grill is when you cook something, but it's not cooking on the oven. It's cooking on some very hot metal bars with something very hot underneath it. And it leaves these dark lines on it after it's all cooked. That fish is all cooked. I bet someone's going to really enjoy eating that fish. You might grill a steak. You might grill some chicken. You might grill some fish again. You might grill some pork chops. You might grill a big skewer of vegetables. All the chopped vegetables all stuck together on a long pointy metal stick. Saute. What is she doing here? Looks like it's a whole lot of vegetables in a pan, tossing them around with some oil. Just get them nice and cooked on the outside. Let's see, you could also saute. Looks like she's got some olive oil, salt and pepper, some herbs, some lemon, some grapes. What's happening here? Is this a salad?
Yeah.
Do you like eating salad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love a good salad. Toss. Now, the reason you don't stir a salad is because all the parts of a salad are very delicate, very fragile. They can get squished up real easily. You don't want to take a big old spoon and just go around in a big circle and go bonk, 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 bonk. So instead, you very carefully go in with a really big wooden spoon and a big wooden fork, and you go whoosh, whoosh, and you toss them up in the air. And that's a little bit more gentle than stirring them. Somehow, it works. Lettuce, tomatoes, greens, onion, cucumber, romaine. Wonderful. And dress. Did you get dressed this morning?
Yes.
You did? Did you put on some olive oil? Did you put on some vinegar? Did you put on some salt and pepper? Did you put on some cherry tomatoes?
No.
If you said no, then you are probably not a salad. But if you said yes, then you are a salad. And thank you for watching this video. Did you put on some croutons? No? Okay.
No.
Clothes, yes. Garnish. This is something they do at restaurants, and sometimes you might do it at home if you're feeling extra fancy. Garnish is where you just put something a little nice and fancy and colorful on the plate after everything else is all done. And you just put it there on the plate to say, check this out. Doesn't this look nice? You could put a little flower or a strawberry or a little wedge of lemon or some chopped red peppers or some parsley. Serve. This is an important step. What does serve mean? So these chefs, these workers in the back of the kitchen, they did all this important work to cook up this meal. But now what has to happen with this meal that they made? That's right, someone's got to eat it. Now, this is not the person who's going to eat it. The people who are going to eat it are back here sitting at the tables. This is the person who's going to take that meal out to the people. When they came in, she said, "Welcome to the restaurant. How are you doing today? What would you like to eat today?" And they told her. And then she went back and told the chefs and the table, the people at the table say they want to eat a delicious grilled fish that's garnished with vegetables and one strawberry. And the chef said, "All right, we can do that. We have everything we need to do that." Now,
Yum, I like that in my burrow. Yum, yum. I like that in my burrow.
you like that in your burrow? That'd be a very nice thing to eat in a burrow or anywhere else. What does this say? E-A-T. Oh, you're there. That's very close. E-A-T.
Eat.
Eat. That's exactly right. Who was eating? This person's eating, this person's eating, this person's eating, these two people are eating, this grown-up's eating, this kid is eating. All these kids are eating and all these kids are eating. And what are these?
Yum, yum. Color. Color.
And what are these two chefs doing?
Don't know.
Are they watching? Why are they watching everybody eat?
Don't know.
Do you think they want to know if everybody likes their food? Did those chefs work very hard on making all this food? And sometimes when you work very hard on something for somebody, you want to make sure they like it. And if they don't like it, you want to find out how you can make it better next time. And if they do like it, you want to take a minute just to feel good about how hard you worked. Whew! All right, it's the end of the day. What's it time to do?
Sweet and rock.
Sweep and scrub. That's right. Sweep up all the dirt and dropped vegetables and everything from the floor. Kitchens need to be clean because kitchens need to be healthy. You don't want any germs and dirt in the kitchen because you don't want anybody to get sick. Scrub up all those pots you used. Scrub up the top of the stove. Scrub all the pots. Wash all the glasses. Wash all the plates and bowls. And wash the floor. And now, what are they doing here? Stretch and yawn, yawn and stretch. The same thing they did at the beginning of the day. Why are they stretching and yawning now? What time is it? It's nighttime, and it's time to go home. Good night. Thanks for your hard work. See you tomorrow. Good night. Thanks for your hard work. I'll see you tomorrow. The Well, I don't think they live together. Looks like they're going different directions. A lot of people who work together, they don't live together, but they do work together. The end. Let's put this book back on the shelf. 1, 2, 3. Thank you for reading that book with me. Give yourself a round of applause. Folks, that's all the time we have for today. Should we wash our hands one more time before we go? Let's do it.
No.
No? Well, we washed our hands once. You think that's enough?
Yes, that's enough.
Okay. Will you promise to wash your hands for real, though?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.